Right, let's jump right in. So let's look back over the list we have so far in our rankings of Kiss albums so far. So bottom of the list, number 7, we have Heart of Hell, the second studio album. Number 6, Rock and Roll Over, which I think is the 5th. Yeah, it is fifth studio album. Number 5, Kiss, self-titled, album number 1. Number 4, Love Gun, album number 7, I believe. No, it isn't. No, album number 6. Forgive me. Yeah. They just sound the same after a while, so it's quite hard to keep track. Number 3, Dress to Kill. Again, I'm amazed that is as high as it is. As unbelievable. Number 2, Destroyer, the classic. And number 1 is Paul Stanley's solo album. And just quickly, I just want to make a little comment. This is sort of like, in terms of ranking, this is sort of like the anti-Kiss fan list in many respects. Like a lot of the a lot of the albums that are more like well regarded, bar Destroyer. Destroyer seems to be quite high up, but you Dress to Kill above Love Gun, above the self-titled, Rock and Roll Over, Heart of Hell usually, unbelievably, is usually quite high in these rankings. So
unbelievable.
It's absolutely mental. Absolutely insane. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Peter Criss's solo album. Obviously, we know the deal around the rationale of making 4 individual solo albums, so we don't need to talk about that. But just briefly, in a nutshell, each member wanted to basically assert dominance over the others. So, in able to do that and to keep the band together, probably more importantly, they decided to release these 4 solo albums. And as we discussed, it's quite an original idea. We couldn't think of many bands that have done, at least rock bands, that have done anything similar to this, really. So it's a unique product to put out, at the very least. Last time we covered Paul Stanley's solo album, which I think that if we were to aggregate our thoughts about that record, we would say it's sort of meh, it's all right. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah. I mean, I've got more to say about it, but yeah.
Positive.
It's all right. It's worth bearing in mind as well that with this list that we've compiled, there is a threshold. There's a threshold to albums we would actually recommend. I tried to push for Paul's to maybe enter into that upper echelon, but it didn't quite make it, sadly. But perhaps this one will.
We could have one today.
So fingers crossed. Peter's sat somewhere, probably in an old people's home, with his fingers crossed, listening to this on YouTube, hoping that he will make it to that number 1 spot and stay there for the next 5 years or however long it's going to take to do every single Kiss album. Now, there isn't actually much out there about this album. The Wikipedia page has no background on it whatsoever. And I'm not saying you should get all your sources from Wikipedia. You shouldn't. But it is a helpful tool. And it's good to get the meat from there if you can. However, there's nothing on there. There is nothing on there. But I did find a couple of bits and bobs. In general, during this period, his drumming is becoming a bit sloppy. His chemical intake is also off the chain. And if you are to believe Gene and Paul, he was gaining a sort of grandiose sense of self-worth. Because he penned, really, their only hit at this point, which is Beth. Peter does admit, however, that around this time, he did have a lot of people around him perpetuating the idea to him that he was the most talented person in the band. And at this point, he really, really, really wanted out of the band the same way that Ace wanted out. It's also worth knowing his marriage was falling apart. So he's a bit of a mess at this point. Poor Peter.
Okay.
He says he was losing touch with who he was. So as a way of gaining a bit of control and purging himself of Kiss, he actively chose to avoid Kiss's rock sound. As a way of doing that, he brought on Vinnie Poncia, who would go on to record Kiss's next 2 records, which are Dynasty and Unmasked. But more importantly, he had produced a couple of albums by Ringo Starr. Now, you could argue there is a bit of a through line there. You know, both drummers, both seen as probably the least talented en masse, probably as broadly as the least talented in the group.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
However, I would argue. I mean, I would argue Gene is the least talented personally. That's my opinion. So that's why that hype.
Sure,
that's why, yeah,
sure.
absolutely. That's why that hypothesis goes straight out the window, in my opinion.
But they're both drummers come vocalists.
Drummers come vocalists. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, you know, you could argue there's a logic. There's quite a solid logic there. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's the perfect producer, really.
It is. It is. No, I would absolutely agree. Sessions took place in Brooklyn, and unfortunately for Peter, he became hampered by some quite unfortunate setbacks to recording. He had a car accident, which made his drumming and his singing a lot harder to do. He recorded a lot of his singing in a neck brace and a cast on his fingers, which limited what he could actually do on the drums.
Right.
Considering that, I wouldn't have noticed, I don't think. Maybe a couple of songs here and there. I mean, there's one song, particularly on this album, where his singing isn't great. And apparently because of the neck brace, that did hamper like how much he could belt and how much he could actually, you know, use his diaphragm and sing. And there is one song in particular where his singing is really not great. We'll get to that in a bit. But other than that, it just kind of sounds like him. Like, the drumming is very, very simple on this album, but I mean, again, not to get too much into it, it doesn't really sound any worse than it does on other Kiss records. In fact, I would argue his drumming actually, for reasons that I'll get into later, actually, I think his drumming actually sounds more solid on this than it does on like Hotter Than Hell, than it does on the self-titled. What do you guys think?
I'm glad that you've given that context. I couldn't find that about like his him not great.
Me neither.
In a great place mentally, or that he had gone through a breakup and sort of looking to go back to his roots, sort of thing. Because that actually explains that kind of explains why this album is the way that it is. Because in the pieces that I found about the album, including a quote, let me see if I got it here, that he talked about his the injuries he had, and he said it was incredibly painful, but I had a goal in mind to do the best album of the 4 and leave the band with dignity. And he also says that, I'm not sure. I need to get that source.
I mean, the thing is,
he really wanted to.
The only problem with that is, and it's something that I was going to get onto next, which is that he didn't actually do much writing. He spent most of the time, according to his autobiography, completely fucking around and doing nothing. They didn't actually have enough material to fill the album.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to figure out like why, if he was going to this album thinking, oh, I want to like make my my claim as like a songwriter within the group, and sort of to show that I can tag along with Paul and Gene, and then he reverts back to this kind of more retro style of songwriting and sort of more well, we're going to get into it, that I really couldn't understand the connection of what he was trying to do with this and where it fit in with Kiss as a whole. But I suppose there is a logic there that if this was for himself, of going back to the things that got him into rock and roll and him into drumming, I can sort of see how we've got this album. That being said, I would like to know more, because there's still many question marks over this.
Well, in terms of like him, like you said, abandoning Kiss, like you said, yeah, there's definitely a retro sound on this album. That's something that we criticize Kiss for quite a lot. But it's not hard rock. That's the point. There's no hard rock on it.
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
don't
just
mean the same
what he
hard
didn't
rock, yeah.
want. Yeah, no hard rock, nothing heavy metal adjacent, just like R&B, jazz infused, sort of, shit like that.
So,
Anyway,
yeah.
Another huge problem, as I was going to get to, and this is partly due to him not being the most prolific songwriter in the world, is that he hadn't actually written enough material for the whole album. Which what brings into the question this, like, I had one goal, and that was to prove myself as them. Like, no, I just don't fucking buy that for a second. Because from what I gather, he spent a lot of time. The first thing he did is he brought in Stan Penridge, who to act as a co-writer. Now, they used to be in a band together. They used to be a band together called Lips. And Stan Penridge also co-wrote Beth. So, obviously, makes sense. Good marriage. They then, with the help of Bob Ezrin, did write their biggest hit, so it makes sense. However, they both got distracted and started to enable each other's drug use quite heavily. And as a result of that, not a lot of work got done. Altogether, the pair of them wrote 6 of the 10 songs altogether on the album. Another was a cover, another was a single written by Vinnie Poncier, and the other 2 were penned by Sean Delaney, who was a co-writer on a couple of Kiss tracks previously. He was also in a relationship with Kiss's manager, Bill Aucoin, so that's how he fits into it. He also wrote some hits with Paul further on down the line, I think. I could be wrong, though. So altogether, you could sort of extrapolate that this isn't the most focused album ever. There's hampered by quite a few issues. Now, this is a complaint that is thrown at this album quite a bit. That it's not consistent, it's not focused, it's messy, it's really sort of thrown together. Now, I disagree. And I'm not going to go into it until we get to the album later on, but I would like to know your guys' opinion. Just one word, just a yes or no. Do you think this sounds thrown together and rushed?
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I would say yes, but in the same way that the other Kiss albums have sort of been kind of thrown together. I don't think it's unusual.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's not an unusual trend. Now, this album is by far, both commercially and critically, the greatest failure of the 4 solo albums. It peaked at number 43 on the Billboard 200. It was the lowest charting of the 4. And reviews for this are incredibly
Wait,
harsh.
but to give that context, though, isn't like Paul's like number 40? So it's not like way off, right?
It's not huge off. That is a good point. You got to contextualize it. It's not hugely way off,
Also,
but it got better reviews.
Also, number 43 is not bad for a drummer of a hard rock band releasing an R&B album.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I think that's a really, really good point. I think that's a really,
We're sticking
really,
up for
really
Peter
good
here.
point. Yeah, absolutely. However, reviews for this are incredibly harsh. Pitchfork gave it 0 out of 10 stars. I believe that was a retrospective. That is really, really is it. Although I couldn't actually find the review anywhere, so I don't know how much stock I put in that. The Collector's Guide to Heavy Metal said it had the most hired guns, so as a result, had the most gun incidences. Ouch. All Music gave it 2 out of 5, saying it lacks hooks. Either the pop metal rockers or power ballads, as well as personality throughout. Now, first of all, they only started making pop metal after this man left the band. Also, without hooks, I disagree with that. Don't get me wrong. This album never turns up on lists of like the worst albums of all time, unlike Music for the Elder, which will come up later. But it is fair to say that during its short lifespan, sort of in the spotlight, it got a shat on pretty hard. What do you guys reckon? Why do you guys reckon that is? Why do you reckon this got? Why this has been dumped on as much as it has?
Front cover. Same as Paul Stanley's, I think.
I think that's
they've
got to do it.
the primary audience are young pubescent boys who love the hard rock image of the band. We've spoken about that.
Uh-huh.
They're gonna buy jeans, and to a lesser extent, they're gonna buy Aces. He's still got pretty cool makeup, at least to spiky. While we said Paul, his looks, I'm sure people would have thought at the time, looks kind of gay, and I'm sure people thought the same about Peter Criss. He's dressed up like a cat. I think any kawaii market that they could have tapped into didn't really exist, especially in the West back then. So
yeah,
I think that's really the main reason.
I think it's worth noting as well that if you take these albums, I think it's also worth noting as well that if you take these albums as solo albums and imagine the band didn't exist, the other three, Paul, Gene, and Aces, their makeup in isolation could carry a pop star. Like an Arthur Brown or an Alice Cooper or a Rob Zombie, someone like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Peters just can't. Peters just can't. Peters only works in the context of a four-piece. Well, what do you think, Alex? Why do you think this suffered?
Yeah, it's similar to what Danny was saying, that the album cover sets it in comparison with the other solo albums and with Kiss, and then this is a big departure from that. And so your expectations are immediately thrown back. And I think at that time, the way publications were is that like a lot of the reviewers for this would have been hard rock reviewers. They would have been rock reviewers.
Yeah.
And they would have come into it with a certain mindset. And yeah, definitely fall short of that mindset. Yeah, I think we can get into it later whether this album is really that bad. But I think those reviews are harsh. I agree with some parts of it, but it is harsh.
Absolutely, I think it's incredibly harsh. Now we're I don't think we need to talk about the cover because it's the same as Paul's cover. But I will open the floor. Is there anything you want to add? Is there anything you want to talk about?
We just said it, didn't we?
Yeah. That's the problem. The main problem with the cover is it's got Peter Criss's face on it. That's basically it. That's the biggest issue with it, is that it's got his face on it. That's it. Like,
I like the green.
It goes. The green is nice, but
it goes. His eyes.
It goes without saying though. Like, if you had the four in front of you in the record bin, you've only got money for one. It's not going to be this, is it? Come on. It just isn't.
In a different world, it would be.
Yeah, it just isn't. Anyway, just before we get into the album, I thought it'd be a neat little question to ask you. And this is quite a strange question to ask, really, when you think about it. It's quite brilliant. So, what do you guys want from a Peter Criss album? What do you guys want from a Peter Criss solo album?
Good question. I did kind of want a bit more of that, some of those Peter Criss screams like that we've got on previous albums. The ones that made us sort of go, oh yeah, we're looking for something a bit different.
That fucking neck brace. That neck brace.
Yeah, so we really didn't get it much in here. But other than that, I was looking for a different side of Kiss, something that Paul and Gene couldn't give us, which we did get. But before I knew it, I wasn't quite sure what that was. I wasn't quite sure what Peter could give us for a whole album. So I don't really have a good answer for you, Alexi. Danny, what do you think?
Just vocals, really, because that's what he's given us. I'm not expecting him to suddenly come out with these amazing songs, nor drum beats or anything like that. I was hoping for there to be some really, really good vocal performances. I should point out, so far, the order we've listened to the solo albums has been in order of, I don't know if I can say my favourite members if you take everything into account, but in terms of what they bring musically to Kiss, we're going in that order, descending. If our next one is Ace, it will be in the perfect order. And I put Peter above Ace because, as you know, what we always say about Ace is that his solos are passable, usually, or at best pretty good. Well, when Peter hits on a vocal performance, it is fantastic.
When it's high, it's high. Like Peter is genuinely
his highs are high.
Peter has genuinely lifted entire tracks. Do you know what I mean? Like mainline, wouldn't be good
that's true.
if it weren't for him. Like, let's get
So I was excited.
Yeah, let's get into the album. Let's go track by track. Track number 1.
Let's go.
I'm Gonna Love You. This is I should have written this actually. This is I believe this is Peter. I think this is Peter and Stan Penridge wrote this one. All right, so already the production is a lot stronger than on most Kiss records. The bass is nice and fat. The mix is well balanced, which is quite a tall order because there is every instrument under the planet. Under the planet, that's not a fucking phrase. In which there's every planet. There's every instrument under the sun. Like on this track, like if he had toured this, his backing band would be fucking enormous. Like there are horns, backing vocals, pianos, strings later on. Like there's a lot of instrumentation, like on this and on a lot of tracks moving forward. In that way, it doesn't really sound thrown together to me though. There's a good amount of polish on it. There are points where it does feel like he is struggling a little bit, but the hook, the rain, autumn child, I think sounds great. As does the I really love you. And I think both of them benefit from massive backing vocals that make it sound a lot more soulful and emphasize the harmonic dynamics that the chord change brings. I also love the sort of neck pickup Stratocaster funky guitar line in the Rain Autumn Child bit. I think that's really, really good. The playing is solid, including his drumming, actually, considering he's, sort of a shitty drummer anyway, and usually, he's kind of a shitty drummer anyway, and he's hampered by having, like a gammy arm. It's interesting that his drumming doesn't come off any better or worse. In fact, I'd probably say it's probably better on this because I don't notice it as much. I don't notice how bad it is as much. And I think that the reason why is because he's keeping it simple. He's keeping it incredibly simple. Mm-hmm. And he's serving the song, as it should be served. I think being surrounded by session guys actually makes him sound better as a drummer. And I think it helps as well that because Kiss, particularly on the earlier albums, and in fact, even like Rock and Roll Over, have such an anemic, thin sound that when his drumming is simple, basic, ploddy, and limited, it really, really, really shows off. But because there's so much instrumentation on this, because all he's doing is keeping time, you just don't notice it. It's serving. It's just serving a purpose.
That's true.
Exactly how it should be served. So, like, I think just by being surrounded by Paul, Gene, and Ace playing so anemically, it just makes his drumming sound a lot worse, or highlights kind of how rudimental and simple his drumming is. It's food for thought. Anyway, but all around, I dig it. I like this. It's soulful. I think it's groovy. It's quite naff. It is quite naff, and I think as a consistent criticism for the whole record moving forward is it's a bit naff. And that is something that I'm going to consistently be going back to as we go through it. However, I think it's good. I think it's pulled off. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much more than I enjoyed the average Kiss song on the first 5 albums. Or the first 6 albums, however much they are. So yeah, it's a swing and a hit. It's a swing and a hit from me, Alex.
Wow, this was like this whole album. Like on the first listen, I could barely take it in, and I think there's a few different reasons for that. But also, I had to recalibrate my brain a little bit, considering how I normally have to think about a Kiss album and think about different pieces and trying to dissect the sound. Because, like you said, Alexei, on this one, straight away, it doesn't hide what sort of experience you're going to have with this album. And there's just so many more layers going on. There's so many more things happening. And so on the first listen, I didn't really have much to say. I was sort of trying to just figure out what was going on. But then on re-listens, I think you're right, Alex. I think this is well done. Like a lot of these songs, it's the production is much better and very full, and all the instruments are used well and balanced well. And I think there's a good groove on. And I'm surprised. I just assumed that with these solo albums, that because of what's, at least kind of I feel what's at stake with the albums about them sort of proving themselves to each other and them trying to make a name for themselves, that, you know, here Peter would want to like really throw himself front and center, and then like the drums would be louder, or there would be like sort of more percussion up front and more chances for him to belt out vocally. His vocals sound nice here, but this sounds very much like just like a, I don't know, kind of a session band performance sort of thing. Like there's no one person up front.
It's letting the song do the work in it.
Yeah.
The song is the main thing you're supposed to gravitate towards. There isn't like a flashy guitar solo or certain playing that you're supposed to gravitate towards, or certain singing.
Exactly.
No, it's the song. It's the song. And also, I would argue that, you know, do you like the Doobie Brothers? Do you like, you know, do you like the Eagles? He'll probably like this, probably. Do you know what I mean? I don't think
there comes my criticism, though. Is that like, I think this sounds good, and I think this song itself is pretty decent. But with those bands that you mentioned, usually they have something that's like really kind of shows it off, or they have a bit more to it. I think the song itself, the actual song "I'm Gonna Love You," is just fine. It's just very passable. And I think this is quite a curious choice as like an album starter. I don't know. It doesn't really get you going, get you that hyped. It's just a very just like pleasant sort of song. But overall, a thumbs up. But yeah, I'm not super infused by it. Danny, how about you?
Similar thoughts. Talking about it as the opener, Alex, I think it's interesting for the first line of an album to be an accusatory warning. Don't let me find you sleeping with another man. That's the first line on the album. Which is a bit, I don't know about that. Yeah, I put too, Alex, bad style to open on. I don't think this has a very opening track feeling to me. But the vocals are on it. I wrote that several times. The vocals are really nice. He was giving me exactly what I wanted. It's not too flashy. He's not like showing off particularly, like you guys said. It's just serving the song, but really nice. I want to be careful how I word this, because what I wrote was, is this so dissimilar to any old fucking Kiss song, though? And everyone will be like, what? Of course not. But I'm not talking stylistically. Of course, stylistically, it's different. Although I would push a bit saying I'm still hearing a lot of hard rock. Even though, you know, we read that it's R&B and soul. Of course, the instrumentation's different, but I'm still hearing heavy guitars in there. Sorry, but the reason I say is it really that different to a Kiss song comes on to, it's just nothing to hold on to, and it lacks catchiness. And you quoted someone before, Alexi. I really agree that this album lacks hooks.
I disagree.
Barely a hook in this song.
I think there's hooks all over this album. This album took me. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, is there a hook on this track?
I'll get into it more later. This album took me on a journey that.
Okay.
honestly, like no, I think there's a decent hook. I mean, they said the rain autumn child. I think that's I enjoyed that as a hook.
No,
I think to me that's fine, but it's not. Again, it's not taking me anywhere. I don't think this song goes anywhere. I think I liked it more on subsequent listens.
Yeah.
This, like quite a few tracks on the album, got better after the first time. It's probably to do with what you were saying.
No, dude, I absolutely agree with that. 100%. My initial, like,
yeah. Particularly in this song, there's a middle section where the band is just sort of jamming back and forth. That sounds really good, and on subsequent listens, I really grew into it.
Yeah. It's got. Even I could just be more simple about how I talk about it. It's just having brass and backing vocals. It's just welcome.
It is.
Yeah. It fits that retro sound more. That Kiss is so on it for calling to and pulling from.
It's like
It fits this much better to be doing that, to be using those notes and scales, those blues notes.
yeah, I think as well if you get it,
but
if you're gonna do it, you might as well amp it up. The whole problem with the Kiss records is it sounds like Jerry Lee Lewis being played by stickmen. This is the main problem. Where it's in with this because it's a much richer instrumentation. There's just a lot more to give yourself to.
And actually, with this track, it isn't as retro, is it?
No.
Unlike tracks that come after
No.
it. This is quite contemporary. This sounds a bit more modern. 70s. 70s quite mainstream sounding. But I have got to emphasize, I don't feel... It's that idea of nothing to hold on to. There's nothing that's just...
Yeah. No,
It's
I
not
know.
got a hook from it. It's not got a hook that I'm fucking
I think
with.
you're being harsh.
But generally... Okay.
I think you're being harsh. I like it. I think it's good. So the track number 2. Are we ready for track number 2? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, I'm ready.
You Matter to Me. This is written by Vinny Ponce. This is the single he wrote for the track. Sorry. Oh God, I'm so thick. This is the single he wrote for the album. By the way, probably worth noting, this is the only Kiss album. This is the only Kiss album of the 4 solo albums. So this is the only solo album that had 2 singles released. Just saying. This being one of them. I think that's got to do with the success of Beth, though, to be honest. Also, they probably saw quite a lot of potential in this track, and I can see why. I love it. I actually love this track. I absolutely love this track. I think the intro is fantastic. I think it's got a fantastic groove. The synth line is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Dr. Dre was ripping this sound off all through the 90s, time and time again. This G-funk synth line. It's absolutely great. It's a great mix. I love the mix. Peter sounds great. It's a great chord progression that I think marries to disco perfectly. It's got a nice, melancholy, sweet groove, almost reminiscent of the 50s, particularly with the backing vocals in the chorus. Now, something that I obviously criticized Kiss for quite a lot is trying to sound like the 50s, but there is a 50s sound that I quite like. It's not kind of the Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard rock and roll thing. It's more like things like the Chordettes, that kind of like almost kind of Phil Spector is kind of more like melancholy pop music. That's sort of thing David Lynch would use or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And I think this is reminiscent of that. And also it's played in a very contemporary way. Like this just sounds like late 70s sort of disco tinged pop rock music, basically.
Yeah.
So this is like, it is that 100%, but it's done in a very, very contemporary way for the time. This is exactly what I sort of wanted for a Peter Criss album, to be honest with you. I think it's got a fantastic hook that I love. The whole album has hooks all over it, and we'll get into that later. I think the claver following the bass line sounds great. It gives the song a very kind of funky foundation that's also very danceable. So it's got a kind of melancholy 50s sort of feel, but it's also quite groovy and danceable. This does come with a caveat, though, that Peter really didn't have anything to do with this. He sung it, don't get me wrong, but Vinny Ponce wrote this. This is probably one of the best songs on the record for me. But it is on his record. And I dig it. I think this is a good track. I dig it a lot, actually. I think this is up there with some of the best material that we've covered so far. This and a lot of the record, I actually think, is proto Huey Lewis and the News. And that, again, that's sort of what I wanted from this record. I sort of wanted Huey Lewis and the News. I wanted the Doobie Brothers. I wanted shit like that. And for me...
Bit of Hall & Oates.
At the moment, yeah, exactly. Bit of Hall & Oates. And for me, at the moment, he's batting 2 for 2. I like this. I like this a lot.
Okay.
I think this is really, really good. Will I defend it that much? Probably not. Probably not.
I think you might.
Is it naff? Yes. It's incredibly naff. However, I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. It reminds me of like a couple in like slow dancing under the moon. It's lovely. It's good. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Like we I think we're gonna have an argument throughout the album about hooks. And I'm more with Danny on this thing. However, this song does have the best.
The only reason I can't win. It's great. Sorry, what you said.
No, I was gonna say this song of the album has the clearest hook, the best hook for sure.
The backing vocals when he goes, "Ooh," it's gorgeous, lush.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy right now. So we've got.
I've had repeated
of everything we've listened to, we finally found something.
No, I've had repeated listens of this. I would take this with me moving forward. Anyway, sorry, Alex, carry on.
Yeah, no. Again, this was another trip. Just hearing this for the first time and just going, what? Like, this is what we're doing now, sort of thing. And particularly interesting to hear this, in 2023, 2024, because I mean, this sort of sound, like you were saying, Alexi, was popular again 10 years ago, 8 years ago, with like the whole city pop sort of disco, sort of smooth disco feel. Like this was a very popular sound, and
New disco absolutely ripped this off. New funk, G-funk, and Huey Lewis and the News completely ripped this off.
So I don't think this has aged that badly at all. I think it's a decent song. However, I think like you can tell it's not one of Peter's songs, and he doesn't shine much in this song that much, and I feel a bit bad to say, but I think anybody could have sung this song and it would have worked. I don't think there's anything particular that Peter adds to it.
I disagree. Ace could not sing this song. Ace could not sing this song and make it.
Well, okay. There's no way we can test it.
Neither could Gene.
But
actually, I don't think Paul could sing it. Or maybe he could, actually. I don't know. Paul would be the
same. I'm just saying, I'm not talking about in Kiss. I'm talking about just in the 70s. Just
in general, in the 70s.
I think many singers could have made this song work.
Probably, yeah. Barry.
I don't think Peter shines through very much on this that well. But
yeah,
I think you're right. I think that the synth is a nice touch. The sort of the backing vocals and the groove. Yeah, I like this one. Yeah, Danny.
It's 2 for 2. Danny.
It started and I thought, oh yeah, this is changing it up more. This is more like not Kiss, so I was happy about that. There's more going other places. I thought that the chorus was a little catchier, especially compared to the previous track, but still not a great hook. The synth lead is one of the better hooks. If you count the little synth lead line, that's more catchy than the chorus itself. That's the best part of the song, probably, is that synth lead. The verses had some peculiar chord choices, I thought. I wasn't fucking with the verse nearly as much. Weird chord movements, I thought. And even the mix, I wasn't big on the mix. I don't think it's really blending very well. Everything kind of was not glued together to my ear. It did grow on me, like the previous track on subsequent listens. The more I heard it, the more I thought, I can fuck with this. His vocals are not consistent. This is, I suppose, more to do with the whole album. But there's a lot of pitch wavering. And I guess that's the charm of Peter Criss's voice. It's so rough around the edges.
It is, yeah.
But I don't know. Sometimes, especially, I guess on this track and a few others, it leans more towards me just thinking, that's not a great take, as opposed to, that's so rough and raw. I mean, learning just now that he was injured, I didn't know he was injured.
He was.
I'm afraid I've got to critique the album on its merits, though. I can't just be like, give him a pass because he was in a horrible accident.
That's one on tape.
I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Yeah, but like I say, I came to this album wanting really good vocals. So I'm afraid I'm feeling about zero of whatever this magic is, Alexi, you are feeling from this track, which is great. I wasn't feeling that at all, but it's pretty good. Yeah, it's good.
Fantastic. Can I just say as well that, at this point, 2 for 2 is probably better than the average Kiss record, I think. It's more like, yeah, man, it's pretty good. It's all right. I mean, that's
it would be, but I don't. I think calling this album 2 for 2 at this point is very generous.
I'm
generous.
calling it 2 for 2. In my opinion. So track number 3, Tossing and Turning. Now, this is a cover. Now, I need to put my hands up. I did not bother to listen to the original. I didn't really feel like. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really feel like I don't really feel like I needed to. Again, this is proto Huey Lewis in the News, man. It sounds like it should be off like the Blues Brothers soundtrack or like the Blues Brothers 2000 soundtrack. This should have been used in a montage for like a John Candy movie in the 1980s. Like the lyrics are bizarre. The lyrics are like essentially a guy who can't get to sleep, just doing really like standard stuff you would do to get to sleep, like turn over the pillow, get a snack, push the blankets off so you can kind of get cool, and that's kind of it. And there's even a bit where he just repeats like I kicked the blankets off, but he just does it with like a bit more intensity. Like he just kind of pushes his voice a little bit more. Like
I think it would make sense if you heard the original, because the original is like a very, very like standard traditional blues track sort of thing. Like, and lyrically, when you hear the original, it's like it's very much of that style and time.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's one of the most like inconsequential songs I think that has ever been made. It is fascinating how just inconsequential and innocuous it is. Like. But Jesus Christ, it's a jam. It's fucking so catchy. It's Huey Lewis. It's Billy Ocean. It's a bit naff. Yes, it's incredibly naff. It's really fucking naff. But fuck, I'm sorry. It's objectively, it's a bop. It's free for free from me. So far, it's looking and look. I won't defend it much. I will not defend it. But I think it speaks for itself. Alex.
I think you're being very, very generous here.
It's great. I had my foot.
I think these songs.
I was going round my house, going, I'm tossing and turning. It's great. I really liked it.
And that's great for you. That's really great. And I'll get it. Like I was also, I was doing some cleaning to this album and stuff, and
it's great to clean.
I got into it too, But there isn't anything. I think there was a lot of music like this at the time, and I don't think this track does anything particularly special. This one actually grew on me on more listens, like we've kind of said before. At first, I was just perplexed by it, and went, like I was saying before, is this really a song that Peter wants to show to Paul and Gene and be like, hey, look what I can do? Sort of thing, and it's just very old sounding.
It is better than God of Thunder, way better than God of Thunder. Take this over fucking God of Thunder any day.
But think about the audience, man. Think about freaking Paul and Gene listening to this.
You weren't gonna defend it, and you are defending it.
Yeah, I'm defending it against God of Thunder. I defend raped by elephants by torso fuck over God of Thunder.
But it is a fun jam. You can see like the band are gelling here, and everyone's doing their bit really well. I can tell that this is a Peter Criss song because we get plenty of cowbell. We get his signature cowbell right in there, man, and it is going.
Cowbell.
The breakdown in the middle of the song doesn't work for me. It's just a bit like, I don't know, there's not enough really there, and it feels though it's a bit empty space. But yeah, I think that this is another one. I'm not gonna say that it's another good track, but it's another perfectly fine, listenable track. And actually, I did listen to the original, and I think this is a good cover of it. I think this adds quite a lot of extra sort of dimensions to the original, not lyrically, just sort of musically. Danny?
Well, I mean, it starts off, nothing like Gene, but pretty ploddy, I would say. some plods
true.
to get us
That is
started.
true. I agree with
Even
that.
throw us in the
I agree
cowbell.
with that. I did hear the plod.
Yeah, and this was the point of the album I started to think, yeah, I mean, his voice does fit all this rock and roll-y stuff better, and in a way he's pulling it off more, but I just cannot get into this. I can't get into this musically. Somewhere between the production, the mix, the performances, and often the songwriting, but this one's a cover.
You know why?
I don't feel the energy.
You know why you can't get into it? Is because you've never trained a baseball team of high school students with John Candy. That's why you've never had to repair. You've never had to fix up an old house with John Candy.
I've never needed a cheeky montage.
Yeah, of like he's on top of the roof, like putting the roof tiles in, and he accidentally knocks over the like bucket full of nails, and he turns around. He goes to pick a nail out of the bucket, and then he turns around and he's knocked it over, and it's like on your head. do.
No, I haven't. And nor do I intend to.
Well, you can't. He's
This
dead.
is just like the previous songs. It got a little better after the first listen. I like the bridge. The biggest thing that neither of you have brought up, so maybe I'm just being pedantic, but you were saying there's one track in particular where his vocals are off, Alexi. At the end, when he's doing those highs, he's absolutely off on most of them. Really off.
I didn't.
When he's doing his I
didn't notice.
he is so off on.
I didn't notice
them.
the song had taken me away. I was drunk off it at that point. I couldn't focus. I couldn't focus on it. Whether he could have done anything at that point. It could have been the sound of him like ejaculating onto his nan, and I wouldn't have noticed. His Jan's like,
so,
get away,
to
Peter.
me, I mean that's probably the his injuries coming through, because I'm sure he could probably hit those notes at his best, but he was very off, I thought. I've not got much to say about this one. We can move on.
Yeah, I do hope he he didn't put himself through too much pain, particularly doing shit like this. You know what I mean? Because it is great. Don't get me wrong. It's a 10 out of 10 bop, but
hurt my throat doing an impression.
Yeah. God knows what he went through. Bless him. So don't let me down. This again. I should have made a note of it. I think this is potentially one of Peter's. I mean, it's Stand By Me, basically, isn't it? It's budget Stand By Me. I mean, Don't Let Me Down, Stand By Me. It's that kind of hold me through the dark times shit. I think instrumentally and its arrangement and its and melodically, it's also quite similar to Stand By Me. However, I do, I mean, it's Stand By Me, but nowhere near as good, like not even close. However, I do like Stand By Me.
Stand By Me is a lot more hopeful than this one. This one's quite.
It's
like,
a bit more
down,
depressing.
like...
Yeah, it's a bit more down.
Yeah,
a bit more of a dour one. It's a lot of kind of like more of like a murkier kind of dirgy version. It's kind of like a bleaker sepia tone version of Stand By Me. However, I like Stand By Me, and a lot of this album references melodically a lot of stuff from the 50s and 60s that I actually like, as opposed to the average Kiss record, which references stuff that I don't like or never really had much of a care for. Like, it's a much murkier, baggier, less inspired, ploddy version of Stand By Me, but I don't know. I don't know what this album. I think this album did something to me. It was like, but it is quite sweet. The outro has a lot of countering parts that give it a sort of cascading, dreamlike quality, which I like. I'm a sucker for this sort of thing. I think that's the problem. Like you sort of your Bobby Lees and your Teddy Pendergrass and stuff like that. And I do think it's sort of done with a certain amount of love, and Peter again sounds quite sweet and melancholy on it. Of the tracks so far, I'd say this is the weakest in my opinion, but it does get a pass from me, just about a pass from me.
Not 4 for 4.
No, this is 4 for 4. This is 4 for 4 for me. This gets a pass.
Oh,
no,
it
this
is?
does get a pass.
Wow.
No, I like it. No, I do like it. I do like it. but it's not without its
Okay.
problems. Basically, your views on kind of the same feelings you might have towards the first track. I that's my feelings towards this, in my opinion. Alex, what do you
Okay.
think?
Yeah, you kind of mentioned a lot there. The things that I like about it. I wrote it as quite. It's quite well executed, but ultimately it's just a quite boring take on this kind of song and doesn't really do enough to sort of get your attention. But when I closely listen to it, the parts that I do like, that ending, Alexi, the sort of like the descending sort of sound, and the dreamlike sort of thing, very sweet, very soft. Yeah, I think that there's something to it.
Can I make
the baby? I like those little refrains.
I like that. I like that as well.
Cute and kind of lame, but I quite liked it.
Can I make a quick point? Sorry, that I forgot to mention. It's really, really fast. There's four ballads. 4 ballads on this album? Yeah, 4. I think there's 4. There are 4 ballads on the album. In my opinion, this is the best one.
Oh no, I disagree with that.
I disagree.
What?
With that. I think
Oh my god! All right, we're gonna disagree.
worst,
Massive time,
maybe.
Massively. All right, sorry, Alex. Finish your point, Alex.
Well, there's something I want to talk about with the ballads, because they are, they're very. I imagine if you were the typical Kiss fan and you were listening to this, like, these are the ballads would be the thing that would have really, like, made you want to return it. I'm thinking like stereotypical Kiss fan sort of thing. And with them, I think we kind of mentioned earlier about the marketing side of it, the fact that how the album sounds compared to the album cover, and it's like, and how it links with the rest of Kiss. And I want to put this out there, and you guys can say if you agree or disagree, but I think actually, if they really thought about it, they could have made this album work with the context of the rest of the band. But they need, whether the band should have done it or Peter should have done it himself, they needed to give Peter like a persona in like that was the opposite of Gene. Like if Gene is the demon, then they should have made Peter like the sensitive,
angel.
Sweet singer like thing. And I
don't think he'd want to.
Yeah, that's the same. But
but you're right. From a marketing perspective, you're absolutely right.
I think if they could have easily,
if they were the Powerpuff Girls, he'd be Bubbles.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, and they would have to go cartoony with it to make it fit. But I think if they really did it and they sort of like, I don't know, something about him being like a soft cat, and like he could make it work in live shows, and it would at least like get Kiss fans on side, or not make it seem as the album seem as jarring.
Particularly after the success
I think
of Beth
with the ballads, they're not awful. They're not awful ballads, but in the context of Kiss,
mate, really
I could see why this. I can see why they would have got so much like vitriol from fans. But yeah, on the song itself, nothing to really say about it. How about you, Danny?
I'm sitting thinking I need to sort of change how I'm approaching discussing this album. If I already have, because I sort of came at this when I listened to the album, I was thinking about its reception, not what you guys might think, but its reception in the larger world, which, as we know, is very negative. And so I was coming at it like, nah, and I was thinking lots of good things to say, but Alexi is being so nice about it, man. You are being so nice about it that I'm afraid I'm going to lean into the negative, because you've swung the pendulum in such the opposite direction. And I don't think it's as good as all that. I think that this song especially is not my sort of thing. So that's not so much a criticism as I do not listen to this sort of music. But it does make me realize how well written and arranged Beth was. That really works as a down moment within the band, I think. Well, this is just a nothingy ballad to me. I think it's the nice thing I have to say about it is it's probably close enough to its contemporaries at the time, though.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I think generally this is what songs like this sounded like. But
I think they would have been a bit more upbeat,
it just
a bit more
shows.
poppy. This one's a bit down.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Mm.
It shows to me that or emphasizes to me the vast majority of what I like about Peter is the rasp in his voice, and as soon as he drops that, I lose so much interest. And that goes back to Beth. In Beth, he's still singing with rasp. He's actively trying to lose it here, and he just becomes this nothingy singer to me, and I'm afraid it's just boring. And that's all I have to say about it.
Right. That's the kind of sugar Papa likes. Now, this is Peter. I know this is Peter. Oh, no, sorry. It's just called That's the Kind of Sugar. It's just called That's the Kind of Sugar. Peter and Sean Penridge, right. Okay. So, the first part sounds a bit like early Steely Dan, which I was kind of digging. Also, when he sings... He also sings it a bit like Don Fagen as well, particularly when he sings kind of lower and deeper. He sounds a bit like Donald Fagen, which is quite nice. However, the chorus had me in stitches. It sounds so incredibly musical theatre and sinister. Like the Disney villain vibes are like massive. He sounds like he should be wearing like fingerless gloves and like an overcoat. Like, you know, and to be fair, like had Gene sang it, like I would find it so reprehensible and I would really, really tear him apart. But I do genuinely think that Gene has like dug himself a grave and he's not really getting out of it. Having said that, like I don't know what I don't know what's wrong with me, but I like it. I like the chorus. Like it's
Jesus Christ.
Like it's just really catchy. It's just really, 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 really catchy, and like it's got a great guitar solo in it. I like the guitar solo a lot. Again, there's so much in the arrangement. It sounds so much more competent than the average Kiss record. Like it's a foot tapper. I'm sorry, I like it. Again, is it naff? Yes, it's incredibly naff. It's also incredibly rubbish. But I was also going around my house going, "You're the kind of sugar papa likes." I was going up to my partner. You're the kind of sugar papa like. Like it's great. I think it's fantastic. Like it like again, yeah, it's very, very naff, and it is so naff to the point where it is, you know, there is definitely a slow decline in quality on this album, particularly from the last track. Like it's definitely going on a downward trajectory. However, it gets a yes. It gets a yes from me. It's 5 for 5. It's
Wow.
5 for 5 from me.
Oh my god!
Wow.
I will not defend
sorry.
it. I will not go out my way to defend it that much. But I think it's so incredibly silly and stupid and naff. And like it's that. Yeah, no, I like it. It's good. It's a good track. Right, Alex, after you.
Yeah, I'm sorry because this one to me is the sort of usual Kiss song that we would have a go at in disguise.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like
sort
Kiss,
of.
though.
Oh yeah, it does. Just the sort of
not
close
musically. Not
enough.
musically. No, I mean, it sounds nothing like Kiss.
Well, it still has the backing vocals, which I like. Like those female backing singers helped a lot on this album. They really, really help. Like complement Peter in some ways, and I do like it. Like them again on this track, but just sort of the groove.
Keys bit.
Yeah, the groove and like just the song that "You're the kind of sugar papa" like I can just hear Gene singing it, and just the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Alex, he's not singing it.
They usually
He's
talk.
not singing it. I interpret it as like a Fagin-esque character on the streets, like trying to corrupt someone
You're
in going.
I think you're projecting too much
You
onto
can't
it.
give him a pass because you see a Fagin character.
No, that's exactly why I'm giving it a pass, because it sounds like a Fagin character. Oh, I could show you the big lights, stuff like that. How'd you like to make it in the movies, sweetheart? It's like that. That is great.
We get some Peter Criss howls. I think it's like kind of like the first like proper ones on the album, maybe. And they're decent. But yeah, and I didn't like the drumming on this one at all.
I didn't even notice the drumming.
Yeah, working. Yeah. The
Oh, do you
drumming,
mean like when he starts going on the ride at the end, and he's like, because it's getting a bit jammier, and he's sort of.
I
that?
like that bit.
Is that what you mean?
That's probably the best part of the song.
No, I think that ride bit was too much at the end. But also even before that, some of the fills were just a bit sloppy and messy, and
did you
didn't
not like?
quite fit with the.
Did you not like the dramatic?
I noticed the drums more.
Did you not like the dramatic like lost or found? Do with me like the like musical theatre bit. The little turnaround. After the chorus.
No, I didn't.
That's not very Kiss at all. That's straight up Broadway.
It's not exactly like a typical Kiss song, but it's close enough. And
Kiss energy, man. It's the energy.
Yeah, this is like this like McCavity from Cats, I think. Like trying to create, like if you know, back to the cat reference, obviously 'cause he is a cat. This would be if you're talking about the sweet cat. This would if you're talking about the sweet cat. This would be like the evil cat. This would be like the evil cat with like a rundown fedora.
I think
on.
even if we gave it that, they said like it, you know, put it in that musical theatre sort of space. It's not a great one of those songs either.
Oh, it is.
It's
Alex,
just
it is.
It's just this one's one of the worst ones for me on the album. Personally.
I disagree. I think it's better than no. I think it's worse songs than this. 100%. Sorry, I keep interjecting.
Danny, go ahead to say something.
I think we're going to agree.
I wrote the first thing I wrote was "fucking hell" that title, and then I wrote "sounds bad," and then I wrote "oh dear." This fucking... I mean, I agree. I think we've said the positive things I agree with. I actually like the little ride bell thing that he does at the end. It made me realize how unflashy his drumming has been on this album so far. Like, this was the first time I even remembered to listen to the drums, really. Even though it's Peter Criss. The other only really good thing I can think about saying is it's a step, or maybe a few steps away from Gene's level of creepiness, but he has taken notes. He's studying the Book of Gene on his creepy vibe on this. I put, who is this for? Again, and then I go on about it sounding like a villain song. I just don't know who this is for.
Me,
I put, this is the first guitar solo on the album. It's for Alexi. This is the first guitar solo. And Alexi, I wrote, it's not good. And then I looked it up and I put lol, it's Steve Lukather.
Is it? Well, from Toto.
Wait, who's that?
Yeah, the guy in Toto. He's like a famous session guitar.
He played on
Apparently Steve
Thriller.
Lukather played the
No,
solo.
he played on
and I think it's a really weak solo. Very weak.
No, I liked it. I thought it was a good guitar solo. I enjoyed it very much.
And the last thing I could say about it is, if this was some batshit, tongue-in-cheek lyrics, I think this song could work. I still wouldn't love it. But if it was more fun or cheeky, not creepy, we'd have something that I'd be like, oh, it'd be more of a "Do you love me" feeling from me. I'd be like, oh, it's fine. It's just a silly little song. But, you know, as long as he's trying to be Gene and not literally anything else, I'm not into it. So, I'm sorry. This is a low point. I don't know if it's the worst, Alex, but it's a low point.
So
I don't know what the worst is. I don't know.
Okay. So,
but yeah, that's all I have to say.
So we're all in agreement. It's 5 for 5. Great. Anyway, moving on. Hit after hit after hit. Anyway, easy thing. Again, I don't know. I think this is Sean Delaney. I don't know, actually. Anyway, again, I think this is trying to be Beth. I think we knew this would probably happen. It's inevitable. It was the biggest hit. I mean, in the verses, the quieter moments when it starts, he sounds off pitch. He sounds off pitch and out of key.
Mm-hmm.
On numerous occasions, you know, particularly in the quieter moments, it's quite bad. It's quite noticeable. I mean, it really shows as well in those quieter moments, and it sticks out like a dog on fire. Like, also, his voice doesn't suit the power ballad. It's just not strong enough. Like, even like at his best, like he's raspy, but he's still quite tinny and raspy. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like a Jack Russell. Like
It's not
he's
operatic.
not operatic.
Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not operatic. That's exactly what I put. I said he can belt, but it's not as operatic as like a Michael Bolton, for example. Like, and it's not as gutter. And and it's not as guttural as like a Joe Cocker. And it's important to note that Beth is a ballad. It's not a power ballad. It's not bombastic. It's very subdued. It's quite quiet. And that's why I think it works with his voice, and why his voice doesn't work with this. At least with the louder sections, it definitely doesn't work. He sounds very, very anemic. Like, I just think the quieter section just must be just out of his range. Like, it just does not sit well in the music at all. His voice, and because of that dissonance, it's really it's actually quite hard to review it as a whole. Like, it's quite hard to review the track as a whole because of that dissonance, because it sounds like you're listening to two ideas at the same time, and it just completely doesn't work. I mean, man, I hate to say it, but it's 5 for 6. Didn't do it. First stud on the album. Alex, what do you think?
Well, I love this one. Sorry.
We were sort of comparing the different ballads on this song, and this one's my favorite ballad on the record, I'd say. And I agree with you, Alexi, that vocally it's very wobbly, and he doesn't have enough for this kind of song.
Nah, he doesn't.
But this song sticks to a very tried and true formula, and the backing singers, again, like, you can tell they've sung this kind of song a million times, and they really carry the ending.
Yeah, but this song needs a belter for a lead. It needs a belter for a lead. Like, the backing vocals and the instrumentation only do so much. Like, the thing is, if you like, it's like what the criticism that you were launching at the earlier songs, kind of the Huey Lewis, the proto Huey Lewis and the News and stuff like that. It's like, these songs exist and there's just better versions of them. That goes for this as well. Like, if you like this, you could listen to, Foreigner, or you could listen to, Michael Bolton and stuff like that, which is a lot, stronger than this. Like, it just does not suit his voice at all. It's like getting Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse to sing a power ballad. It just does not work. It's so unsuitable.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't think he brings enough to do a song like this. However, like, I think it sounds fine, and there's part of me is like, oh yeah, go on, Peter. Like, he's really trying, and maybe that is pandering.
In fact,
pandering's not the right word. Patronising. Yeah.
In fact, can I just interject something as well? A long time ago, I had a friend called Arthur Fisher, and he was quite upset about something. So I decided to cheer him up. I'd record an album of power ballads, and I recorded it at Danny's house as well. And we got karaoke versions of, like, With or Without You, Angels, Total Eclipse of the Heart. I think me singing Total Eclipse of the Heart on that, completely out of key and completely out of my range, and with an incredibly weak and anemic vocal. I'm not saying it sounded like this, but it was about three steps lower than this. They were definitely tangentially within the same remit. Daddy, what do you think?
And yeah, Daddy, go on.
What, of the song or of Alexis?
You can review both. You
album?
can comparatively compare the two.
Oh, that's very hard. Look, Alexis, your cover album there was something magical going on there, and probably the biggest progress I've ever made. As an audio engineer, because there was a lot of work
to tame the vocals.
I had to do. You were just blowing the mics. Anyway, sorry. The main thing I wrote about Easy Thing is, I was really thinking I was going to like this album more. This is really a moment on the album for me. I just started thinking I'm really trying to feel it. I'm trying to feel this. But this is just exactly the sort of boring 60s, 70s chart shit that everyone chooses to forget when they talk about how amazing those decades were.
Oh, no, there's
stuff
worse
that is
here.
It's very twee.
Well, yeah, there is, Alex.
On his
I
album,
agree with that.
worse.
There is. I think this again though, man. This is I'm surprised you think this is the best ballad. I don't think it's the best ballad on the album.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with Alexi about like the vocals at the start, especially. He's like cracking. It's really not good. Very weak. There's like a big moment where his voice really sounds like it cracks. It's just totally off. The string arrangement is professional. Like the production's overall not bad.
Yeah.
But it just sounds like budget Harry Nilsson, I thought. Just nothing again for me to really... Another low point. Next.
You don't mean another low point. The only low point so far.
Sorry.
Come on. This is we're talking for. We can all.
That's the kind of sugar pop.
Yeah, we can all agree 5 for 6. Rock me again. Another triumph. Again, proto Huey Lynn Lewis and the News. Incredibly naff, true, but it's infectious. It's undeniable. This is the formula I love off this record. Yes, it's got a weaker hook. That is true. I will knock it slightly. There's a couple of chinks in the armor. It does have a weaker hook, sure, but it's still there. So it's still there. That big dick, Huey Lewis and the News, Patrick Bateman, murdering Jared Leto vibe. The album was steadily on a decline, but has pulled it back. 6 for 7. Alex.
No, this. No, I think I prefer this one to. I do prefer this one to That's Kind of Sugar, Papa Alex. But it's still many issues I have with that track.
I'd say this is worse than
one.
That.
Oh no!
Honestly, I'd say it's worse. I think it's worse.
But this track, along with a few as we're coming towards the end, the last half of the album, that I had to listen to this album multiple times, and not because I try my best to sort of analyze what I'm hearing, pass through it, but with this album, I forgot so many of the songs. Usually I'm quite good at remembering the hooks of the album, what we listen to. I remember bits that sort of catch me. But so much of this album was so forgettable. And I literally, I couldn't remember what this one was and distinguish it from the other sort of rock and roll tracks we had on here. I think they're competent, and there aren't any major errors or flaws with most of them. But like with this track, it's just there's nothing to grab hold on to, and Peter doesn't do enough vocally to really engage you. So many like this track, it would just fly by when listening to it, and then I have to go, wait, I'm on the next track and I didn't realize, sort of thing. So I don't have much to say about this one. It's a bit louder, more direct than some of the other songs on here, but it's I've got nothing to give you. How about you? Feeling the same way, Danny?
I agree with a lot of what you said, Alex. I sighed at the piano opening, the cheesy piano. But then I quickly did start to think, in its defense, I thought this has the most energy we've had in a while on this album.
Yeah.
You're trying to tell me I'm the kind of sugar Papa likes. If you're gonna knock it, you can't knock it. It's not. It is brimming with testosterone and energy.
I think it's no. That is a weak song. If you want to go back to that song, that's not. I don't think it's filled with energy.
Actually, no, I think it's right. It's more slight.
Like a lot of this album, it just fell flat. It fell flat. And Rock Me Baby, I think that's got more to it. But still, like Alex, you said it. I've said it on previous tracks. There's nothing to grab onto.
I disagree.
I mean, I like
until I'm ready to rock. Right.
Good. There's the arrangement's quite good at points, especially the brass. I like that it's more filled out than a lot of Kiss stuff we've had in the past. There's some classic Peter drum fills on this one, for better and for worse. But I mean, the best thing I can say about it is it got a head bop. I think it's the only track on the album actually that I realized I was head bopping to. God, it might be one of the best on the album, which is not good. That's not good. There's a really long silence after the fade out. which I thought was funny, trying to fill out some time there. But overall, it's better but not enough was the feeling I have from this song. I just thought this isn't going anywhere, for fuck's sake. And I need the highs on this album. I need the tracks I like more to like a lot more than this for this to be the sort of album I want it to be. Next.
Kiss the Girl Goodbye. I haven't really got much to say on this, to be honest. Another Beth. Again, it's another Beth clone. It's better than the other one. Like, it's better than Easy Thing.
I agree.
For sure. Like, it's better. It's better.
No, this one's the worst by far.
No, I'd see at least. I mean, at least he's in key. At least he's in key and he's not trying to belt. At least he's in key and at least he's on pitch. But it's just quite dull. It's quite dull and it's not great. It's damn. I mean, it's
Come on,
6 for
Alexi.
8. It's 6 for 8.
There we go.
Well, you know, even Abbey Road's got some filler.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like. I haven't been mentioning it with a lot of these tracks, and I should, but this album is incredibly cheesy, like really, really cheesy.
100%,
like
I agree
like
with
Lexi, you're saying, like it's.
I see that as a good. I see that as a good thing.
And you know, I'm gonna like, Easy Thing was also very cheesy, but I don't know, like maybe I just have a soft spot for that sort of thing. Well, this one is, it's Easy Thing, but there's no drama or fun to it. It's so boring, and he like, yeah, he's on key, but do you really want to hear on key this kind of singing from Peter, like the whispery sort of like sultry sort of thing? No, it's not good. The acoustic guitars are sort of too they're too high up. I don't know. I don't think the guitars with his vocals blend together very nicely. And also another thing which I feel with this track that applies to a lot of the album is that lyrically there's nothing going on, and he picks one thing, one line or two lines, and then he feels like that's enough to write a song on, and there's nothing else going on with it. I think this is the worst song on the album. Simply just
it's not great. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
It's not great, but also just very, very boring.
Yeah, it's incredibly dull. It's quite long as well. It feels like an interlude, but it's actually about 3.5 minutes.
No, it's like shorter. It's like one of the shorter songs.
No, but like it feels like it should be like a 30 seconds, like less than a minute sort of interlude. Like,
I see.
Like it's longer than Beth. Do you know what I mean? Let me see how long it is.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think it's longer than
Let me
Beth.
just-
It's about the same. This is just under 3 minutes. It's 2:48.
Oh, is it 2:48? Again,
Yeah.
though, that seems
Beth,
quite
Run.
that seems quite long to me. I don't know. It feels like, I kind of agree with Alex. Like, the sort of the arrangement and the way that it's put together. It feels like it should be an intro. An interlude, like a 30-second interlude. I will say that one comment that Alex made. I would rather listen to in key cheese than like atonal cheese, which is what Easy is, basically. Also, there's a bit where he's so off key in Easy Thing where he's just screeching at you, and it's just like having an insane man doing like drunk karaoke screaming at you. Like,
it's very karaoke.
It's
You're
so
right,
bad. It's so bad. Danny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I think it's better than Easy Thing, but not much. At the start, I was like, "Oh, I suppose that's some nice acoustic guitar. Nice to hear that." But then he comes in with a very weak falsetto. I had a similar feeling, honestly, to Easy Thing. I mean, it's more in key, but the falsetto is so weak from him. I thought, the fuck is this? Once the song started developing, I'll push back against Alex a little and say, actually, maybe my favorite lyrical moment on the album was on this track. The only bit I was like, "Oh, that's all right."
Which bit?
Was the bridge that he repeats. We've been apart so many times before. One more time won't change things. I'll love you even more. I think that's a perfectly good little section. I agree with that. I like that lyrically. Especially because we've been given fucking Papa Wants to Rape You or whatever the fuck it's called. Like, I'll take that.
Danny, come on, you're better than that. It's not called that. It's called Papa. It's called
Papa Wants to
You're the
Rape
kind
Me.
of sugar Papa likes. It's not called Papa Wants to Rape You. Come on. Come on, you're better than that.
When the Kiss Me backing vocals were funny. That was making me laugh.
The girls.
I started laughing the last time I listened just because the mix is so fucking wet. It's just everything echoing everywhere. It's like it was recorded in a PE hall.
Maybe
so
it was
wet. And there's not much in it. So it's just this empty static song. And no, not much there for me. Except I like that little bridge in the middle. Bridge chorus, I guess it's a bridge. Let's move on to Hooked on Rock and Roll.
So we can I think we can sort of blast.
Vaccinated.
All right, so I think we can sort of blast through these last two. Right, so at this point on the album, I felt pretty drunk off this formula that we're seeing here, and I would give myself to whatever sort of naff, cheesy direction it would take me in, as long as it sounded like Huey Lewis and the News. And just I genuinely think that Huey Lewis and the News ripped this album off. I am 100% sure this doesn't sound any different from Huey Lewis and the News to me. It sounds exactly the same, and they should thank Peter Criss. They should give Peter Criss the credit
publicly,
the credit that he deserves for igniting the mid '80s. It's 7 for 9 for me. 7 for 9. Wait,
Wow.
Is that right?
Wow.
7 for 9? Yes, it's 7 for 9. There's 3 duds, right? No, 2 duds. Wait, no, that right? No, sorry. There will be 3 duds. There will be 3 duds. But at the moment, it's 7 for 9. At the moment, it's 7 for 9.
Oh no!
Yeah. At the moment, it's 7 for 9.
Stop the
You
rain.
can't stop the rain. Alex, what are you feeling?
Okay. I think of the sort of, I've kind of meant in my head put Hooked on Rock and Roll, Rock Me Baby, and That's the Kind of Sugar, like together and sort of style and sort of how the songs are written. I think this is the best of the 3. I think I'm not entirely sure, but I think vocally I like him here, and the piano and horns I think partner really well on this track. I kind of wish with this song, kind of what Danny was saying earlier with That's When Papa Likes to Rape You. This
is not fair. This is not fair.
I kind of agree with him there, where I wish there was a bit more like kind of humor or tongue-in-cheekness with these songs, because they are so straightforward. And I know I wasn't there in the 70s, but like I kind of feel as though like lyrically this is so kind of backwards. Like just sort of kind of, they must have been dull for the time. Or at least that's how I feel about it now. So I think this one again, solid, just okay. But like towards the end of the album, I was kind of a bit just sort of like again, nothing to really, really hold on to and being like, oh yeah, I remember this about Hooked on Rock and Roll. Anything for you, Danny?
Yeah, what you just said. It's that kind of, every time I'm re-listening to the album, there's nothing I'm looking forward to. There's no bits where I'm like, oh, we're going to get to that bit. Because Hooked on Rock and Roll, yeah, I think I'm with you, Alex. I think it's one of the better songs on the album. It's definitely one of the... God, it's probably like the best chorus or one of on the album, but it's barely a hook. I just quite like the... I mean, I could get on the, Johnny Be Good type of lyrics, the nostalgia for the old rock and roll, Hooked on Rock and Roll. But it is old, like you say, Alex, the style. I thought it was like status quo, like rocking all over the world is what it sounds like. even lyrically. There's some nice vocals. I didn't say that enough throughout this album.
Yeah.
It's such a shame. Although the final verse, he does a nice high thing, very raspy. And the piano does some nice bluesy octaves up high, which sound good. They fit the style very well. But I was just getting tired, and it's just started to feel directionless again. And again, we keep saying there's nothing to hold on to.
I disagree.
So, although I like, the best thing I can say about it is that it's kind of a bit Rocky Horror. It's got that, a bit more energy, but not nearly enough. Not nearly enough.
Oh man.
Alexi, what do you think about I Can't Stop
I Can't Stop the Rain. Basically, like, I think we're pretty much ready to wrap up. The ballads just don't work. They just don't work. I don't think this sits comfortably. I think it's probably worse than Kiss the Girls Goodbye. I think that it is better than what's it called? So Easy. I think it's better than that. I don't really count Don't Let Me Down sort of in the same context because I just think it's a different kettle of fish, I think. Or at least what it's trying to go for isn't the same as like these big bombastic kind of sweet, more pop infused pieces of music as opposed to Don't Let Me Down, which I think is a bit more inspired by like soul and R&B. Again, I just don't think they work, and I don't think this works either. It's finishing up at 7 for 10. Alex,
Not bad, Peter.
Yeah,
fucking brilliant, excellent. And those sevens go hard as fuck as well.
I feel similarly to this one as a Do Easy thing, though. I think this one's a bit. Maybe I kind of like the sort of the fact that Easy Thing is clearly very like unpolished with his vocals, and that's good because this one I think his vocals sound better and fits very well, but it's a very very dull song, and even with the big strings behind him and everything, it is still not enough. And yeah, I for some reason every time I was listening to the song, I kept on focusing on the line where he because he repeats again and again, I can't stop the rain. There it goes again. And he says, lightning only blinds my eyes. And I kept on trying to figure out what the hell does he mean by that? Because he says it in a way that's been like, oh no, maybe lightning's good for you, but for me, I can't take it. And I'm like, but that's not what lightning is used like in anything. I'm really struggling to get like what sort of imagery he's pulling up or what kind of feeling he's get from it.
Isn't there a bit where says? Isn't there a bit where he says it takes a witch to curse that goddamn sky, or something like that?
You've said everything I was going to say about the song now. That was the thing I was going to say. It takes a witch to curse that.
Like, what the fuck does that mean? It's just rain.
And he speaks
it's just rain.
He was like, it takes a witch to curse that goddamn
Could you imagine going out and it's raining and you're with someone and they go, damn, it takes a witch to curse that goddamn sky. It's just rain, mate. It's just raining. From New York, it rains all the time.
This track, I couldn't work it out with the lyrics, but the song itself is just boring and I don't know.
Sorry. It's
again like a lot of things. Decently
sorry,
done.
it is probably worth knowing when we talk about the lyrics. He did not write the lyrics. This was written by Sean Delaney. Sean Delaney wrote this one, so
okay.
he didn't.
Okay. Well, again, they sound different. Like when I heard them, I sort of picked them out, being like, "What's he talking about?" But then when on re-listens, I'm like, "Well, it's clearly it's just like gibberish. I can't work it out at all." This is New York. I didn't get that either. All right, Danny.
Yeah,
that was the track before this.
He's just doing that silly thing where he's like, when singers like talk too much in the middle of a song line, or at the end usually. He'll be like, I'm singing, and then I say the line. That's it.
Yeah.
He does that so much on this
Yeah.
to try and make it sound dramatic.
Yeah.
Especially it takes a witch to curse that goddamn sky. It's a complete fall flat. It just falls completely flat, this song, and then I laughed at the fade out. And that's it. And that's the album. That's it. That is Peter Criss.
That's the album. So let's go through the album as a whole. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little bit like I imagine Rishi Sunak is gonna feel during the next general election campaign when he's pitching to the British public. I feel like I'm trying to sell like dog turds on the street, but I'm going to give it a go. I like this album. It did not deserve half the shit it got. It's much more enjoyable than most Kiss records so far. That is without a doubt. Is it naff? Yes, it's incredibly naff. It's incredibly cheesy. But so are Huey Lewis and the News, so are the Blues Brothers, so are the Doobie Brothers, all that shit. It's fun. There's hooks all over it. Yes, there are some ballads that lay it down. Sure. But none of them have been worthy at all. Nothing on this album, in my opinion, is bin worthy. Not even close. I probably had the most fun with this album than I have with any of the other albums we've had so far. So in a way, it goes at the top for me, and it goes at the top. However, thinking more objectively, is it better than Paul's? Yes, it is. It is better than Paul's. I think I enjoyed the songs on this a lot more than I did on Paul's album. In a general sense, I think "Wouldn't You Like to Know Me" is better than most things on this album. That is true. But in a general, broad sense, average track by track, I enjoyed a lot of this a lot more. It's fun. It's playful. It's naff as fuck. But also, it's incredibly catchy with a very, very rich instrumentation and tight playing. It goes at the top. Look, all the Kiss fans would kill me. This list is probably completely backwards for them if I were to have that way. Maybe Bar Destroyer. But I would also say that this record, in terms of the playing and the instrumentation, it sounds way more professional and way more complete and way more competent than most Kiss records, apart from Destroyer and Paul's album. And, you know, and even all three records are, you know, are going for different things. But the thing about those three records is Destroyer, this, and Paul's album is they're three of them are all going for different things. So it's kind of splitting hairs, really, when you try to divide which one sounds best. But in my opinion, and I think this should go at the top. As a listening experience from front to back, in my personal opinion, I would place this at the top. Alex.
Oh, man. I'm going to start off. I'll agree with you in the sense that it doesn't deserve the hate that we have seen for this album. Even though I've had to push back on what you're saying, Alexi. Like, I think a lot of stuff is competent, and there aren't many like big stinkers that we've had on other albums here in the Kiss discography so far. But like, I'm being serious. After listening to this album quite a few times, there's not one track of this album that I really want to listen to or that I remember really fondly. Honestly, like, I feel as though after this, when we move on to the next album, I would have completely forgotten everything from this album. And it's why this list we're doing is so difficult, and it's why Destroyer and Dressed to Kill are where they are and such. Because, like, the reason Destroyer is up there, despite all its issues, I still remember a lot of the tracks off Destroyer. Like, they have stuck with me, I seem to, and that means something. But I don't think we're going to get this with Peter's album. If you want to ask me where I want to put it, oh God, no, it is difficult. I think we put it around Love Gun or something. Sort of a
Too late, Alex. It's already gone.
well-produced,
It's
nice.
already gone at the top. I've already edited it. It's at the top.
Well,
Anyway,
let me say
so
my
next
piece.
week, let's
You're
pull a
so
name out the
violent.
hat. We've got.
Okay, Alexis already put it on top of the list. I think we put it around Love Gun. Not entirely sure where, just because the production overall,
It
it's a
kind
nice
of what,
sound.
but it's
very
better than
pleasant to
Dress
listen
to
to.
Kill.
Uh,
It's better than Dress
However,
to
I don't
Kill.
think the songs are good enough. Danny,
It's better
Go.
than Dress to Kill. Come on.
Alexi and Alex. I agree. I think we've all said something like this. Well, I think this album, its reception is unfair. And it was the result of closed-minded dad rockers and teenagers at the time
Absolutely.
who, were like, that's not hard rock. And actually, I think at the time there was a sort of revival and real nostalgia, at least, for old-timey rock and roll. I mentioned to you guys that I was going to bring up Meatloaf. Songs like Dead Ringers for Love. And I hear that and I wonder what that was doing differently. Because to me, that song and a lot of Meatloaf stuff is so full of energy and exciting.
yeah.
And actually, but it's still not totally nostalgic either. Because, Bill Haley doesn't sound like that. It still sounded like a modern pop song. And I don't feel any of that on this album. Almost at all. I think much like hard rock music and what we hear with Kiss, with R&B and soul music and all this stuff, even disco at times, there's the good stuff and there's the bad stuff from back then. And I struggled with this album to pin down what was missing. And it's to do with tunes, it's to do with the production, it's to do with the mixing, it's to do with the energy. It needs big, catchy choruses, this album, and it doesn't have that. It is, quite frankly, lacking hooks. And I just thought this album would be more, Janis Joplin or Otis Redding, full of energy and soul. And instead it was just very understated, and really, there's no album we've looked at so far that I haven't wanted to be a fly on the wall and see behind the curtain more. I want to know what the conversations were like during this album. Was he surrounded by yes men, enablers? What was the writing process there? What was he doing other than drugs?
Yeah, it's strange.
Because to me, it just feels like this whole album has such a lack of come on, guys, let's make this great. Let's make this awesome. Let's make a really good album. I don't feel any of him trying to prove himself. It sounds phoned in to me. My conclusion is the word frustrating. It's a very frustrating album. I wanted to like this so much more. And when he sings, it's still... when he sings at his best, it's still a beautiful thing. So I would, ranking-wise, I think I'd agree with you, Alex. I'd put it maybe between Love Gun and Dress to Kill. Which I hope speaks to how I'm leaning into the critical part of what I think, only to counteract Alexi. I do have good things to say about this album, but they've been covered by Alexi very comprehensively.
I think. All right. So
I think.
Sorry. No, carry on.
Around Love Gun. I'm done. Around Love Gun.
Okay,
I agree with Alex.
so let me just try to make this. All right. So Heart of Hell. I'm just going through it album by album. Right. Heart of Hell. I don't need to argue that. We know it's better than Heart of Hell. Rock and Roll Over. We know it's better than Rock and Roll Over. Kiss. We know it's better than Rock and Roll Over. Love Gun. We all agree it's better than Rock and Roll. I would argue it is better than Dress to Kill. I think it sounds a lot less anemic than Dress.
No, you're already going way too fast, man.
I think
I'm humming and hawing about whether it's better than Love Gun, even
yeah,
Kiss.
it doesn't have. It doesn't have. Oh, what's that awful song? Christine 16. Christine 16 is on Love Gun. It's better produced than Love Gun. It's got better songs on it for Love Gun.
Yeah, but it's got I'm scared that my dad's gonna rape me song, whatever it's called.
It does not have Gene anywhere near it, which by virtue alone makes it a better album than those.
Well, then it should be number 2 on the poll.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. It doesn't have any of the good material from Paul. That is true. I'll give you that. I'd say it doesn't sound anywhere near as anemic as those records. I feel that it has a richer sound. It's got a bigger sound. I don't think I can argue the hook thing. Hooks are completely subjective. That is true. I think that it's a lot more diverse as well. It hits on different genres. I feel it's got a lusher instrumentation than those albums. What would you, what would you say that Dress to Kill has over this?
Come On and Love Me.
I would argue that Come On and Love Me is good.
I don't think there's a song on the Peter Criss album that's as good as Come On.
I'd say
I think
You Still
Rock and
Mad.
Roll All
I'd say You
is
Still Mad
better
to me
than a
is
lot
better.
of the tracks here.
Not that version. I don't
think
think
Rock
the
and Roll
version
All
of
Night.
Dress to Kill is better than anything off this. I'd say maybe the one off Alive is better than anything off this. However, I will
Alexi, I see
concede.
your best point, excuse me, is about Gene. And that there's no Gene here. But we also have to remember that there's no Paul here. And so we lose all the good Paul songs on previous albums.
I will agree with that, which is like he was the one that was providing all the good shit that was on here. Well, look, basically, I did say that it is incredibly naff. It's incredibly cheesy. Is it good? Is it objectively good? Probably not. Probably not. But I do think objectively it is more enjoyable front to back than Love Gun and Dress to Kill. But I'm not going to go out.
How could you say that when you think it's objectively more enjoyable than Love Gun? Objectively.
I think that most of Love Gun.
Well, so it's subjectively if you think it.
I think most of Love Gun and most of Dress to Kill are really taxing to listen to. And I don't think that you could call this taxing. I'd say that this, at the very least, functions as background music. Fine background music. Like, you would not like...
I don't think that's an endorsement, no. I'm hearing, like, the way I'm hearing this is just like, yeah, I can put this album on and it won't... And I won't, like, need to turn it off. But there's nothing that's making me, like, want to turn it up either. Like, I think that...
It's incredibly...
isn't always just necessarily a positive.
No, that is a good point. Okay, we'll put it... I do think it's better than Love Gun. I do genuinely think it's better than Love Gun. But we'll put it number 4. Wait, will it be number 4? Here you go, Paul.
Yeah, number 4 would be between Dress to Kill and Love Gun. I'd agree with
Paul.
that.
Yeah,
so
between
below
Dress
Just
to
to
Kill
Kill.
and
So okay, we'll put it there. So
I'll do it.
in it goes. I need to pull a name out the hat for our next album. What you guys want? What would you guys like to hear next? There's only 2 albums left.
Ace. Let's keep the
Ace.
pattern going.
Yeah, keep the pattern going. What about you, Alex? Ace as well?
Yeah, I'd say Ace as well.
I don't think any of us want Jeans.
Yeah,
Do we? I'm really not looking forward to Gene. Okay, I'll pick it up. Oh, it's Ace.
Whoa,
Yeah, we got
go.
Ace. We got Ace.
All right.
We got Ace.
Perfect.
So, and from what I can tell, Ace's is the best. From what I've heard, from what genuinely
That's what they say.
critical sounding, they've said that
Well,
Ace is the best album.
Can we go off that though? If political opinion of this one was so bad, then
Yeah, and it's the
should we
best
trust
one.
the same people for Ace?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best one. I don't know. I mean, I'm expecting it just to be sort of like quite bog standard hard rock shit. Personally, but we'll see. What
Hell
happens.
yeah!
I've heard a track from it. I know a track
Do you?
from the Ace album.
Back in the New York Groove, because that was a hit.
Yes, I know
That was like actually a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's alright.
Yeah, it's all right. I quite,
So maybe the album will be
I quite
alright.
like it.
Let's save it.
All right, let's leave it off. What should we sing?
Alright.
I
forgot all the songs.
Okay, we can sing that.
Okay. Ready?
3,
2, 3, 4.
Cause you're the
Rape me, baby.
with you.